Welcome everybody to a new episode of our pilot season, Break Up the Daily Grind. My name is Ben, and across the table is my co-host Corey. Corey, how you doing?
Yo. Yeah. I'm doing pretty good today.
Yeah, that's awesome. How was your week?
Not long enough. It was weird. I had to go to work today, and then I'm off for 2 days, and then I go to work for another 2 days, and then I'm off for another 2 days. So this week is really wonky. I'm tired though. I'm tired. I didn't sleep at all last night. Really.
Good. And I'm glad you have something to complain about.
I always have something.
I know you do. So today I asked my good buddy Matt, who's also sitting here at the table, if he would join us in our topic. And Matt, we are glad that you decided to join us in our tomfoolery today.
Welcome.
Yes. Thank you, kind sir.
And how have things been for you lately?
Just great.
Just peachy?
Living that dream.
Oh, same, brother, same.
Hey, at least we're not at work.
Right. Sometimes I don't know if it's a dream or a nightmare.
Right.
Okay, cool. So this episode has been brought to you today by
Masters of Nine. Masters of Nine is a fantasy tabletop role-playing group that has fun playing poorly and recording it for your entertainment. They are a series of bad rolls.
Okay, so before we get started with our topic today, I would like to ruin everybody's mood here at the table.
I'm ready.
By starting with a few bad dad jokes. You guys ready?
No.
Matt's face just hit the table like, oh, no.
What did I sign up for?
Okay. All right. So what did the horse say after he tripped?
What?
Help. I've fallen and I can't giddy up.
Bow my head in shame over here.
How do mice floss their teeth?
Nah, I give up.
With string cheese.
Nah, you can do better than that.
Yeah. Well, I got to have a couple bad ones in there too.
That's fair.
Makes the not so good ones seem a whole lot better.
That's true.
So what do you call a dinosaur that wrecked his car?
What do you call a dinosaur that wrecked his car?
A Tyrannosaurus Rex. Yeah, horrible, right? Okay. I always tried to save the best for last.
Yeah, not even a pity laugh.
Yeah. No hashtag groan.
Okay.
What did the blanket say as it fell off the bed?
What did it say?
Oh, sheet.
All right, that was a little bad.
Okay, that was pretty good. That was definitely the best compared to the rest. For sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have.
You're right. You're right, Matt. You're right.
Hopefully, we do all hope that put a smile on your face. And now, with that out of the way, it's time to get down to today's topic: conspiracy theories. Oh, wait.
You need like the ancient aliens music.
Yes. If it wasn't copyrighted, I could probably put it in there. Before we get down to that, I wanted to talk to you today, Corey. I would like to try something.
Mm-hmm.
I would like everyone that's listening to send a message or an email and tell us which dad joke on each episode that they like best, right? And then if we can get enough of them, maybe we can do a whole episode of the best of the best.
Best of the best.
Yeah.
That'd
just
be cool.
Something.
Or if you have your own dad jokes that you think would be cool.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can if they want to message or email us that would be great. And we can even do the same thing for the inspirational quotes. That way we have something that we can to kind of self-tune it up so everyone likes. Y'all can drop us a message on Facebook, or you can email us at mo9studios@gmail.com.
The internet's going to run out eventually, but we can start stealing yours instead. So.
Right, yeah. And for people that didn't quite catch that, that's M as in Mary, O as in Oscar, the number 9, studios@gmail.com.
Cool.
Now the topic is promised. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, right? And I know me and Matt were talking about it a couple days ago, and Corey, you and I have talked about it a little bit. But I wanted to clarify for people that may, doesn't know or not sure what this actually means. So I looked it up. I actually got the definition for conspiracy theory. And the conspiracy theory is a belief that some secret but influential organization is responsible for an event or phenomenon. Right?
Yeah.
So that's a little clarification for somebody that may not know. Because I know I've said, well, I think we're going to talk about this. And they're like, what is that? And I'm like, you don't know what that is? But I guess not everyone does.
So the word conspiracy itself kind of fits into that same definition, whereas it's a secret plan by a group to do something unlawful or harmful.
Oh, see, now that puts an even better clarification on it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like a lot of conspiracy theories, that's exactly what it is. Some group doing something secretively that they don't want the public to find out, but it brings some sort of benefit to them, be it because it's unlawful. And
control.
That's what, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, control. Yeah, and I know.
Or
Matt,
for monetary gain, or,
You and I, we've had a lot of conversations outside of the studio and in past conversations about that. It usually has to do with, fear, power, and money, which are three of the same vicious circle.
Our glorious government.
Well, yeah, sometimes it may not even be them. They might be in the conspiracy and not be part of it.
Right.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So, who knows? So, let's...
I mean, that's the cool thing about conspiracy theories is they're so broad. They could be about the government. They could be about extraterrestrials. They could be about all sorts of different things.
Right.
And stuff, you know? There's really... It's just such a broad horizon.
Right. And that's why this could be a very large, gnarly little rabbit hole for us.
Yeah, exactly.
For sure.
It's very easy to get hooked on even just one of these. You could talk about for hours,
Well, we're probably not going to go that long.
No.
But we might have to do this. This might have to be another small little mini series for us.
I'm okay with that.
Right. We might have to see how that. So we'll just see how far this rabbit hole goes, I guess, for us. I have a list here. Do you guys? It's from livescience.com. Do you guys want to hear what's on this list, or do you guys just want to pick one and go?
We can pick one and go because I mean I know you got some. I'm sure Matt has some of his own too.
Yeah.
And
between the two of you, I'm sure we could be here for hours.
Oh yeah.
Well, okay. You want to go, or do you want him to go first?
Yeah, since you're the guest, if you want to go first, it's up to you.
Moon landing.
Moon landing.
All right.
Moon landing.
Let me get my tinfoil hat.
Starting off juicy.
Right? So,
Obviously,
you think it was fabricated.
Right. Just, I mean, if you've seen the footage, it's so fake. It's laughable.
Yep, basically. Obviously. That's a green screen. Yep.
Yes, yeah.
Before they knew what green screens were.
Yeah, exactly.
Before we knew what green screens were, they probably had them.
They were the ones that designed the green screen in the first place?
Right. Well, what would benefit them? Because it was the arms race with Russia at the time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So
my question is, if the landing was a hoax, how did they know what to make the picture look like?
Interesting.
How would they? I mean,
what do you mean,
if you see the pictures of the moon landing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I guess on the flip side of this, none of us have actually really seen the moon.
Yeah, that was kind of what I was gonna say. Is how can you detest that that's what it actually looks like if no one's ever actually been there?
Well, they've seen it with telescopes.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, so question for that is, those telescopes are powerful enough. They have telescopes powerful enough to see the surface of the moon.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Has any of them actually found the flag that was supposedly planted there? Does anybody know that?
Not that I know of.
So they couldn't. Well, I know that it would be bleached white anyway,
right?
By now, but it still should. You still should be able to see some. It should have been some evidence that we could authenticate from down here.
I don't know much about the telescopes and like how powerful. Like I assume they get pretty powerful. I also don't know the size of the flag that was put on there either, so I don't know. Like
it was a standard, I think 3x5 flag, if I'm not mistaken. It was a regular standard flag.
Oh, okay, so is the telescope that powerful where it could see something like as small as that?
They have them. Now whether
back then though.
Back then they couldn't. No, but they have them now.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't know what it's like on the moon. I don't know if it's like this might sound really stupid, but does it like it get windy on the moon?
No.
Ever?
There's no atmosphere.
Yeah, there's no
wind.
Yeah.
So the flag was never, they say, oh well, the flags is flipping in the breeze. No, it was wired.
Oh, was it?
It was wired that way, so you could see it.
I assume if they planted it and stuff, they must have made sure it stuck, where nothing could happen to it, where it wouldn't like fall over after.
Well, it was just a regular rod they shoved in the ground.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if it was faked, they could have done the same thing in the desert, right? Although I don't know if there's any place here on Earth that would have that grayish colored ground.
Well, they'd have to fabricate it, like in a movie theater setting.
Oh, okay.
Another thing too is like the actual astronauts that went up there, because it was Neil Armstrong, right? Who went up there. Like, you're not just going to the moon in a day and then coming back and stuff. If they fabricated it, he'd have to be in like hiding or like held up somewhere for like a few years where nobody could see him.
Well, all you have to do is shoot the rocket up, go halfway around the world, and drop it in the ocean.
Yeah.
Although they would see the entry. They would have to be in lower orbit for 3 days before they come back down.
I feel like it'd be pretty hard to get away with something as extravagant as launching a rocket into space and not having anybody know about it.
Well, the rocket would go up as usual, right? But it would have to stay in low orbit for the 3. Was it like it's like a 3 days there and 3 days back or something like that? So it would have to stay in orbit for a week, and then after that week, they would have to disengage from orbit and then come floating back down to, because as it comes in, the re-entry, anybody that's out watching, that's looking for that stuff, because there's always people that are always watching that stuff, right? Because it's a fascinating thing to see things coming from back into the atmosphere. Like, so there's always people watching it. There would had to have been somebody watching it come back in. Because if they didn't have that information, it would have been like, no, we were watching. They didn't come back in. They just appeared in the ocean.
I guess for me, I'm more of a skeptic of the footage.
Right.
Like it's very possible that they actually got to the moon.
Yeah.
But I think that footage was faked.
Well, here, now I saw a show about this, and this was quite a while ago. So my memory may not be 100% here, but the actual footage that they had, that NASA had, of them actually being there on the moon and what they did was actually lost.
Oh, was it?
Was either lost, destroyed, recorded over, or was never really recorded in the first place.
So what you're saying is like that's a reenactment, sort of what was...
No. When it was broadcast... Right? That was supposedly the actual footage.
Oh, okay, but they don't have like an archive of...
They have an archive, but it's not in the archive. It is gone.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So it's missing. I forget who was trying to that went to NASA to try to recover that so they could watch it. They said, well, it's not here. They couldn't find it. There was this great big thing where they were trying to locate it, and it just wasn't in the archives. So it's missing, but the stuff that you see is supposedly the actual footage from the original, that your TV cameras and stuff that they have copies, but the original footage, right, not the replicas that you see on the internet and stuff, the original footage was missing.
Okay.
So you don't really know, right? There's no way of authenticating the stuff that you see on the internet.
Okay, because it's like a copy.
Right, a copy of a copy of a copy.
Okay, that makes a bit more sense.
And that might be why it looks kind of fake.
It just appears to be cheesy.
Well,
in my opinion.
Yeah, 1969 and 1972, the cameras weren't really that good.
Right.
I'm assuming also like live, seeing something live, especially from that distance at the time with the type of technology we have, wasn't the easiest thing to broadcast.
Right.
Either, because it's probably not as crazy being it's only the moon, but I know like when you start getting out to Mars and the other planets, sending out like signals like that, be it like video signals or like sound and stuff, like through like electric signals and everything, it takes like the further you get out, the more seconds it takes to like pick up that sound. So if you like say something like, hey, how's it going, over voice to someone who's on Mars, it's going to take an extra 10 to 15 seconds. I
think it's actually 12 minutes. It's
actually I knew it was something crazy. Like
that would be by hertz.
Yeah.
But I just saw a thing just about 2 weeks ago that they tested a new laser that they can send it there and back as a laser, an encrypted laser.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only just like seconds.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
And they can compress sound, data, video.
I was gonna say
they can compress it all into this laser beam, and then you know how fast laser travels at the speed.
A lot faster than sound waves.
Right.
That's for sure.
It travels at almost at the speed of light. So it's literally there and back in no time flat. So who knows how that worked back then, because back then it took, and once you got on the other side of the moon, because they had to have orbited the moon, right, to stay in orbit, and when they got on the backside, that kind of relay, that kind of video and audio would had to have been recorded and brought back, or transmitted once they got out of the dead zone.
Yeah, because I assume having an entire moon blocking you does some things to, especially technology back then. Like 80 years ago.
Right. Well, and all the information, not only of them being there, but all the trajectory, all that information was all stored with them being there.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't have any of the trajectory evidence. They don't have any of the trajectory calculations or algorithms to get there.
Yeah.
And then that was one of the things is like, we don't know how to get back because we can't find that. We can't find that data that says where it's at. I'm like, it's right there, But I think if it was, I think that we went. I think that if there was some reason to do something different, change it, whatever, it's because of something that was there that they don't want normal people like us to know about.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Right.
Either they hit the outer limits of our reality, or the computer simulation only goes that far and they couldn't go no farther. Or something to that effect.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we went. I just don't think that I don't think they lost that shit on accident.
Yeah.
There's no way. Because, if I'm not mistaken, I still think they have the photos. Okay. Anything else on that one? No?
I'll jump into one.
Okay.
This is my personal favorite one, just because it scratches that itch that I have for history and stuff, as well as it just being kind of crazy. So this one it's called the Curse of Timur. And to kind of understand it a bit and kind of understand the magnitude of how crazy and coincidental it was that this happened, you kind of have to understand who Timur is as like a person back in like the 16th century. Or no, not 16th century. He was way older than that. But essentially Timur he is either a grandson or the great-grandson of Genghis Khan, who is like ruthless military leader who's bent on probably the closest anyone's come to conquering the world at that time ever. And everyone knows how ruthless the Mongols are. But Timur was probably a bit more ruthless than Genghis Khan was in in the sense that for fun, after he'd captured prisoners from battles that he'd won, he would force them to jump off cliffs to their death for his amusement.
Sounds like a party animal.
He would decorate his throne room with mountains of skulls from his enemies that his armies had killed in battle. And one of the most notable things was he defeated the Ottoman Empire at the height of their power. At the time when he went to war with them, they were the strongest empire in the world, competing with and beating the Western powers like the Austrians and the Holy Roman Empire and the Hungarians, who were, which is no small feat, to say the least. And so he was one of the few people who ever beat the Ottomans at the height of their power. And I think it's funny because the whole reason that war started anyways was because they were sending letters shit-talking each other.
Sounds like the Cold War.
And so he was like, pretty much essentially it boiled down to, well, you want to talk? Then prove yourself on the battlefield. And so they went to war, and he completely... I think he captured the Sultan of the Ottomans and imprisoned him and just let him rot and die in jail for the rest of his reign. And so they stopped. They just left him alone. But the reason I even bring up all that is because it's just to show how ruthless he is. But essentially, the Curse of Timur is the rumor that the tomb of Timur is cursed, such that whoever disturbs it will face a calamity. So a popular version of the story of the curse holds that when Soviet anthropologists opened the tomb on June in 1944 or 41, they found an inscription saying that whoever opened it would unleash an invader worse than him. Less than a week after the tomb was opened, Hitler began the invasion of the Soviet Union, leading many people to believe that it was caused by the curse. In addition, the Soviet victory in the Battle of Stalingrad had been credited to the curse being broken by Timur getting reburied about 1 month before the victory in the battle.
So those events actually happened in that order?
Yeah.
That seems a little creepy.
Is it? Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That would. Well, let's hope they never dig that one back up, because Hitler was bad enough.
Yeah. Yep. And so I think he's been left alone. Like his burial place has been left alone from this point on. Which, like you said, let's hope it stays that way.
Yeah, because we know most people nowadays are probably far worse than Hitler was back then.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine how, if that plays true, right? And whoever were to open it today, that'd be like Hitler opening it up.
Yeah.
So somebody worse than Hitler would. I'm like, is that even possible?
Someone worse than Hitler?
Yeah.
I mean, if they had the opportunity, I could think of a few people who could be worse than Hitler.
Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them, I'm sure. But.
Putin's really proving himself right now. Right. He's really trying to rack up his own numbers.
Right.
What's the Chinese president's name? Xi Jinping or something like that. But that one's a pretty straightforward one. Right. I always thought that coincidence was really crazy. You know, that like, and maybe that's all it is a coincidence, but you can't say that that's not wild or a really insane coincidence. That.
But if you go back and you actually listen to the definition of the conspiracy theory, right? Because you said this is a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
If you listen to the actual definition of that conspiracy theory, then this would not necessarily fall underneath that, because that really doesn't play.
It would, because the anthropologists who desecrated his tomb, it was an illegal operation that wasn't supposed to be known by anybody but like top Russian officials.
Okay, but what does it benefit? I mean, usually a conspiracy is a group that are looking to increase something of theirs and blame it on somebody else.
That's the thing. I don't know. I'd have to dig a little deeper. I assume there's something that they gained from it, or else they wouldn't have done it in the first place.
Well, as an anthropologist and someone who does that, they're just looking for... They're trying to figure out the past by unearthing it. So I don't know. I mean, like you said, you'd have to dig deeper, but I don't know if that would necessarily fall under what some people would consider conspiracy theory. That would be more just acts of coincidental or powers way above ours.
I got a history one if you want to piggyback off of yours.
Oh yeah, go for it.
You ever heard of the Roanoke colony?
Is that the one that was is that over in Alaska?
Nope, Virginia.
Virginia.
Yep. Present day North Carolina.
I've heard of Roanoke.
So Sir Walter Raleigh was the colonist who founded it, and basically brought everybody over from England and left them there and kind of like got set up. He left, went back to England, and when he came back, they were all gone. Like they all just disappeared, and there was something written on a tree. Croanoa.
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
Which is funny that I just happened to see that, because I know you and I know where that word comes from.
Yeah.
That they do that a lot on Supernatural.
Yeah.
Right. I looked it up a while back. I kind of forgot what it meant. Can you reiterate?
I don't know. I just happened to
Here, I'll look it up really quick.
I see the sketch.
But the whole conspiracy theory on it is that they might have been abducted by aliens.
That's what it always comes back to.
Right.
How do you spell that? Croanoa?
It's Roanoke, Roanoke.
Yeah, if you type that in, Croanoa will come up.
Okay.
That's Roanoke conspiracy.
Yep.
It was, 1584?
Yeah. They also think Indians.
I could see it. I feel like if you had to choose like the most logical one, I feel like that would be the case.
And that they might have like assimilated into other colonies.
Yeah, and that's what it's saying. Like that's one of the theories is the colonists were assimilated by Native Americans. So, yeah, and just like they were just enslaved pretty much. And
well, they would be in a land that they probably couldn't hold their own very well.
Especially if they were just getting established and stuff.
Right, because you figure it takes all that time to leave and come back. A lot, people starve to death in a matter of a month. When it takes 3 months to go there and back, that they could have all starved to death. But
there were. I don't think they found bones. They all just basically disappeared.
Right,
and they never heard from any of them or found any of them.
No, but as wolves and coyotes and bear will do a lot with a carcass.
Right.
And you're talking.
Yeah, but how many people?
Well, I don't know how big the colony was.
You're probably talking over 100 people.
Yeah, because I know those colonies, especially when they were first getting started, they were never really super big.
No,
because the journey to get over from England to America was treacherous.
Yep.
Right.
A couple ships. Maybe.
Yeah. And sometimes not even all the ships would make it.
Right.
And wolves and bears can eat up to 40 pounds of meat a day.
Right.
So it wouldn't take much.
I mean, you think you would find bones, at least. They don't eat the bones.
They don't, but those kind of carnivores will move the carcass to wherever.
Right.
And then with something that is primitive as those colonies are, they could have dragged them not very far, and you probably would have never found the bones again.
You're hell-bent against my aliens.
No, because we've talked about that before.
Ben's team aliens all the way.
Okay, all right.
No, but we've talked about that. There's nothing that probably scares me more than them.
Right.
So there's actually, on a similar topic of like abandoned colonies, this one's more so they knew why it was abandoned. The people left, but it was this colony in Alaska, which is what I was thinking of first. It's called Portloc, Alaska, and essentially it was these people who settled there because it was a really nice trading spot for trading within the region, and so they settled there, but they thought it was weird because there was no one else there in like the surrounding areas, and they even seeked out some of the natives, which they had to go a ways out to find the natives there. And the natives, they were asking, what's the deal with this spot here?
It's a nice spot. How come you guys ain't living here?
Yeah, essentially they're like, there's things beyond your comprehension and our comprehension that lurk in that region, and we will not let our people, perish because of it and die because of it.
Right.
And I feel like when the natives who have lived there for thousands of generations are telling you not to settle in that region, you probably shouldn't settle in that region. But essentially, a lot of people think it's similar to like Sasquatch, the type of creatures that they were talking about, where it was a lot of like they'd see these massive like footprints in the ground on the outskirts of the forest, and going into the forest and going hunting and stuff, they'd see them, and people would go into the forest and not come back. And they would see rustling and all sorts of movement in the tree lines at night and glowing eyes and stuff like that, like they were being watched and stalked and slowly picked off one by one. And eventually, whoever was in charge of the colony was just like, no, we're getting out of here. This ain't worth it anymore. And so they left. And one guy had to stay. The postmaster had to stay because they had to transfer the branch and all the postage and the mail of like the people there to wherever else they were going. So he had to stay there for a few months by himself. And he didn't even make it a month before he was too scared to stay there by himself, because he's like, I hear things outside my door, and I hear clawing and like loud growling and roars in the distance.
He's seen them glowing eyes, didn't he?
Yeah, something. But he's like, I can't stay here anymore for my safety. And so a lot of people think it's like similar to like a Bigfoot type Sasquatch,
Chupacabra,
type monster. Exactly. Yeah. I always thought that one was cool, but
that's Mexico though, right?
Yeah, Chupacabra. Yeah, that's Mexico. There's one picture on the internet of Portloc, Alaska, because it's still abandoned to this day, and
gonna ask you that.
No one goes out there, and people are like, it's forbidden to go out there.
So is it? It's just rural.
Like it is, but there's this random like abandoned hut, like house, that's just sitting in the middle. It's super eerie and really uncanny, and it's just sitting there in the middle of nowhere.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's the last remnants of whatever used to be there. Mm-hmm. And I don't think the hut's there anymore, but the picture of it is still floating around on the internet. And it's just really eerie and creepy, like you're not supposed to be there.
Right.
And I think so this is that's the picture of it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Okay, it's
just like a little hut that's...
Was that the postmaster?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just a random building that was part of that colony, but it's like the last remaining thing.
What year was that?
Portloc?
Does it have a year on it?
Yeah, it does. Let me... So
because I'm kind of curious if that hut... Because a natural hut, I don't care how good you build them, they don't last hundreds of years.
It was 19th century. So it was a canary town that became a ghost town in the 1940s after villagers were chased out by a Bigfoot-like creature.
Well, 1940s, the buildings would still...
Right.
Even unmaintained, the buildings would still stand.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
probably
thinking,
stone.
Yeah, well, a lot of it
those
was...
look like wood.
Oh, were they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, a lot of us said it was like, I think some reports say that a lot of the buildings were burned down or like deconstructed by unknown means and stuff, and that was one of the last ones that remains out there.
Bigfoot has a stash of lighters. That's one that I don't necessarily believe. I believe that misidentification is huge.
Right.
But there is what's the word I'm looking for? There is enough absent information to let me believe that Bigfoot, as media describes it, it's just not there.
Well, it's commonly faked too.
Well, but 100 years ago, 50 years ago, okay, I could see how it could slip through the cracks.
Yeah.
But with today's technology and the amount of people that are in the woods,
and cams too.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
With the technology that's there, the possibility of Bigfoot being real is so microscopic. It's not funny, because something that's a wild creature, I don't care how smart it is, unless it has the ability to see infrared, like has camera for eyes,
right,
then that leads us to a whole nother subject.
It's not the predator.
Right. No, it's not the predator. And if it is, then please, by all means, keep that shit wrapped up because I don't want to know it's out there either.
Right.
Yeah.
To be a regular animal that has not been discovered by people is literally impossible.
It's kind of like megalodon. Is that the right
Megalodon
word?
was a giant
shark.
Yes.
Yeah.
And how they claim that they've sighted it.
Well, that's the same thing with like the giant squid.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
that's right.
that too, which was recently photographed. Actually,
Right.
like they got the first ever photograph taken of it recently. But even then, like, I feel like they can get away with it because, as I said to Ben a couple episodes ago, the bottom of the ocean is one of the most unexplored areas.
Right.
So, you know, you can probably understand why.
It's so fast.
Yeah, exactly.
So the water, the oceans and stuff, I can get behind some of that.
Yep.
But when you talk about woodlands and remote areas here on land, there's too many people,
Right.
in too many of those spots, and too much technology covering it to be that.
Oh yeah,
to be that possible.
I agree, but I like to believe these stories because
Right.
it's a lot more entertaining
Sure.
to believe that this town of 100 people
Right.
was scared off by a Bigfoot than it was to say like, oh, you know, paranoia from like one person and the right people to the other right people can spread rampant in a colony that's as small as 100 people, you know.
Right.
If you start getting like 15, 20 people believing your story about, you know, Bigfoots roaming around and stealing people in the night in the forest, that's going to scare some people, especially if your colony is like half women and children and then the other half is like men and stuff.
Right.
You know, that stuff's likely to run rampant and
Right.
cause a lot of like mass hysteria and paranoia and stuff. And then, you know, all it takes is one person to go out there and have a random hunting accident, that be it from maybe like a bear or like wolves or something that takes them away and you know, you can't find their body, then suddenly, oh, well, now here's the confirmation that I needed that this crazy creature's out here, you know.
And you know, even if Bigfoot was real or whatever that was real, you're talking almost 100 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Back then, it could, if it had been, I could understand back then how something like that could have survived.
Yeah, especially with natives too
Yeah.
of the region telling you that like don't go there.
But like any good person that has a good hunting ground, they're going to tell you a story.
Absolutely too.
Right?
Yeah, and that's what that was going to be my next point too, actually, was like,
So,
if they don't want these random, you know, colonizers that have come and taken their land and are now colonizing on their land, you know, instead of going to war, why not just tell them a story and then scare them off the land?
Because we all know the easiest way to defeat somebody is just
misinformation.
Yep.
Yeah.
Propaganda is the easiest way to
Exactly.
defeat anybody, and that has been proven time and time again.
I mean, you know, with the history of most natives just attacking on site and stuff, depending on where you're at, you know, and these ones actually want to talk, and the first thing, you know, oh, they're not attacking us, that immediately earns a lot of trust right there. Mm-hmm. They're not going to attack us right away. Oh, they're going to actually communicate with us and talk to us. Oh, they're telling us about this thing that they've been experiencing for the generations that their families have been on this land. We should believe them about it.
But then if you really think about it, that area wasn't populated though.
No.
So
it might not be, because it might be just that a lot of tribes back then were very nomadic, and they moved around from place to place based on whatever season it was and whatever land that they had to go to was fertile hunting ground and everything. So it might have just been, at that time, it wasn't the best time to be in that location. So they're like, well, we'll let them have it for a few years, and then when they get scared off, we'll come back to it. Yeah. And that would make sense too, why all the buildings disappeared and were missing, you know.
If they were nomadic?
Yeah, what if the natives came back and they just tore it all down, you know? That's probably valuable stuff they could use.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, but you're talking in the early 40s, 30s, 40s.
Well, that late 40s was when it was abandoned.
Oh.
It was like early 19th century, so like 1910, 1920.
Yeah, but still, even at
20 years is a long time.
It is, especially when you're talking about someplace that remote.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
I could see it be a little more viable if it was, 100 years ago, society wasn't quite as strong. But now you're talking 30s, 40s. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought that one was good. I really like uncanny, like creepy locations that it's like you should stay away from this area. Like that's the type of story where I'm like, well, now I want to like take a group and go camping.
Curiosity
out there.
killed the cat.
Yeah, exactly. And like camp out there and check it out and like see if it's real.
That's when you call all your buddies. They're like massive, black ops type buddies. Hey, come camping with us.
Yep.
I'd like to have your paranoia packed in the bag. Let's go.
Let me tell you about Portloc, Alaska, gentlemen.
I'd be more scared of the bears.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because they're quiet. I mean, they'll walk right up into camp and not even bat an eye.
Yep. How would you like to be famous?
I will stick to my microphone. You can have that. I love Alaska. I've always wanted to go.
Me too, yeah.
But no.
I might have to. If I could get a group, I wouldn't go by myself. Hell no. If I could get a group together of capable people who knew what they were doing, I would go. I would go there and camp and check it out.
I've seen you shoot guns. Yeah, don't go by yourself.
I've never shot a gun before in my life. What are you talking about?
That's exactly why.
Well, if you go to Alaska, you're going to need one.
Oh, yeah.
I knew somebody who lived there for a while, and basically when you go fishing, like salmon fishing, you got to carry like a 12 gauge.
Well, yeah, they got all sorts of predators out there, right?
Well, I'm talking more about bears.
Yeah.
Like fishing wise, because the bears are after the salmon.
Does Alaska have polar bears?
No.
Well,
I don't know.
They can be. Yeah. They're not usually that far south.
Oh, okay.
It's usually too warm for them.
That's like Antarctica.
Okay. Right, yeah. They use polar bears they're kind of the same breed. They're along the same species line, but polar bears tend to stay above the Arctic Circle, which is below. The Arctic Circle is farther up than Alaska. But now they have seen and documented polar bears coming farther south. Yeah. And they actually have proof that polar bears and grizzlies have actually mated.
Really?
Right? I forget what they call that breed of bear, but there's actual documentation for that one, yeah.
Because I guess you'd be more worried about like Kodiak bears
and stuff.
That's
the grizzly.
That's the one that's
the big boy.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, brown. I don't know if there's really a difference between the brown, the grizzly, and the Kodiak. I think it's all the same thing. It just has a different name.
Yeah, I think one's bigger. It's like it goes Kodiak is the biggest, and then grizzly, and then black bear.
Yeah, black bears are usually smaller.
Yeah, they're like the smallest because we have those. We have those here.
Yes, I don't know. I don't know if there's any documented cases here in Michigan, but I'm sure there's got to be some.
Up in the UP.
Yeah, the UP, because we had some of the property up there.
Yep, exactly.
Actually, a friend of ours actually has a picture of one that had tried to get up in the back of her truck.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Right where we go camping.
Wow.
Yeah, so that ought to be interesting next time we're up there.
Well, we have cougars and mountain lions.
Yeah, those are really rare, though.
Yep.
They just found one in the D.
Did they?
Yeah. I just saw it in the news.
There's a whole story behind that, too.
Is there?
Yeah, my cousin used to know a guy, and this was several years ago. He had a buddy, and his buddy was telling the story about how the DNR enforcement officer come knocking on his door, and he's like the guy, the DNR officer asked him, he says, "You have something that belongs to us and we want it back." And the guy goes, "I have no idea what you're talking about." He goes, yeah you do, and you know exactly where it is, and we would like it back." He's like, I don't know what you're talking about. He goes, "Well, can we come in?" And he's like, "Sure." So the guy brought in this antenna, walked right up to his freezer.
Oh.
Beep.
They tagged it.
It was chipped.
Chipped, yeah.
It was chipped.
That's what I mean.
And according to information that the press had known, right, and that the general population, there was no such thing as cougars in Michigan.
Really?
This guy had shot one, and he had it in his freezer. He was going to mount it.
Was that illegal?
It was legal. Well, it's illegal to shoot cougars anyway.
What if it's on your property?
Unless they're unless they're attacking, if they're doing it. But you can't just shoot them because they're on your property.
Yeah, I don't
right?
think you can just hunt them.
You can't just hunt them, right? They are a protected species, I believe, in Michigan.
It's coming right for us.
and that's the thing. But even if you do shoot it, you're allowed to defend yourself, but you're not allowed to keep it.
Right.
You have to contact the authorities and say, this is what I got, blah, blah, blah.
And then they take it, right?
But according to the DNR that had been in the area earlier, they had denied that there was any cougars in the state of Michigan, especially down this far, right? Because we're in the lower half.
Where was this at?
This was not too far from here.
Okay.
So from what my cousin had told me, it was not very far from here. And this was probably 20 years ago.
Really?
So they said they weren't even down here.
Right.
Well, then the DNR officer had showed up and says, you have something. He's like, I thought you guys said there wasn't none down here. And he's like, well, this one here has kind of gotten away from it. Come to find out that after several public meetings this guy went to and harassed the local DNR officers and called them liars, they finally agreed that they were down here, and they just didn't migrate down here, right? The DNR program actually had brought them down. They had tagged the adults that they brought down, but nobody kept track of the litter.
There you go.
So there was a lot of sightings. They're like, oh no, that's not cougars. That's misidentification. Blah blah blah. We track them. Well, they were tracking them, but they weren't tracking the offspring.
Not the kids.
Right. So this one that this guy had in his freezer just happened to be one that was tagged. Right? I'm
That's unlucky.
What's the chance?
Right.
Yeah.
But that goes back to the conspiracy part of this one, is because the government said that they weren't down here.
Yeah, I always thought that they were exclusively up in the UP, and that maybe occasionally they'd cross over when it froze over and get like to the northern part of the lower peninsula, but I didn't think they were down here.
That was what they were saying, is, the ones that were sighted up closer to the bridge, they're like, well, they just must have come across the lake when it was frozen. There's a main thoroughfare underneath the Mackinac Bridge, and they have icebreakers that go through there all the time. How does that even work? The cat can't swim.
Yeah.
So the chances of it actually getting down here is minuscule at best. But
It's
to have enough,
it's not impossible though.
No,
because there's been animals that have crossed before.
But what's the chance that they're going to travel another 5 hours south and not ever be seen?
Yeah, that's fair.
Is the denial aspect just based on fear? They don't want people to be scared?
They didn't want people to raise Cain about it, because when you got farther south, you had a lot of farms, right? And we all know that those animals will hunt, the cows and the sheep. And they didn't want that issue from people complaining and bitching about, these animals are doing this, and they were trying to up the population.
Yeah.
They had enough wild game for the animals to attack, but they don't know any better. They're going to attack whatever's available.
Oh yeah.
Right. So they took a chance and it kind of bit them in the butt.
I assume mountain lions are a lot worse than coyotes.
Right.
By far.
Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's the difference between a cat and a dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Cats, they think they're gods. They are.
They think they own you.
Right.
Oh, man.
Right. We brought that up before too. But coyotes have a tendency to be afraid of people.
Yeah.
Cougars have a tendency to look at them and say, ooh, snack.
Right. That's why you wear the mask on the back of your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But coyotes can be just as vicious.
Oh, yeah.
The one that actually probably scares me even more is wolves.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Wolves.
Wolves scare me more because, they are actually afraid of people more than we are of them. But
not in packs.
Well, usually they stay clear, even in packs. But every once in a while, you get in the right spot, you get a pack that's hungry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They'll size you up. And you know how big my dog is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wolves are bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to win.
No, they're huge.
No, they're huge. They're massive.
Yeah.
No, thank you. No, thank you. Because we had those up north, too.
We did, yeah.
That was scary stuff. Coyotes are enough to scare me, especially that far north.
Yeah.
When I was up there hunting, we used to hear them off howling in the background.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was enough to raise the hair on the back of my neck. Like,
They're usually pretty skittish, though, thankfully.
Coyotes are usually pretty skittish.
I saw one that just out in the field behind the park here. and stuff. Just ran right across, Dude, he stopped. He looked at me. He's like, and then he just kept moving.
Yep. No, they're not so bad. They usually stand still long enough to put a bullet in them. So we got off on that. We got off on that one a little bit.
That's okay. That's not.
That's what it's for, though, right?
Yeah. As long as it's entertaining, right?
Right. That's what it's here for. Anything we want to jump to a different one here?
Yeah, sure. I got another one.
All right. Either one of you.
Sticking with the bullets and stuff. I got human hunting, which is it's more of a conspiracy theory nowadays. It was a legitimate activity back in, ancient times. Like I got it pulled. Like ancient Greece, the upper class of Sparta regularly practiced the stalking and killing of members of the servile Helot population, so like their servants and like slaves and stuff. Wow. Such murders were carried out both by the secret police as a means of keeping the Helots cowed and unlikely to revolt, and a part of the military training for Spartan youth. In Europe, authorities sometimes hunted down adherents of heretical religion, so heretics, from religious minorities.
Now they just use viruses.
During the Spanish Civil War, the killing practice became popular among sons of wealthy landowners. The hunts took place on horseback and targeted landless peasants as an extension of the White Terror. They were jokingly referred to as Reforma Agraria, referencing the mass graves the victims would be dumped into and the land reforms the lower classes had been attempting to attain.
So mostly just the rich people did this.
Yeah, well, and that's what I'm getting to. Right. So the most recent documented case was 1971 and 1983. A serial killer named Robert Hansen flew many of his victims into the Alaskan wilderness, then released them so that he could hunt the women with a rifle and a knife.
I just watched that one on TV. There's a movie based off of that.
Yeah, me too. I know what you're talking
about.
Yeah,
I just watched it.
It's
That's
got
weird.
Ice-T.
So
he's in it.
Yeah, I can't remember.
It's older.
So that's like a real thing that happened. But people, the whole conspiracy theory nowadays is that people think like the rich and powerful with like private islands that they own and like private land and property that no one has access to but them are paying lots of money to have like prisoners or people like low class that won't be missed flown out to these places so that they could participate in, like, I think it's like they hunt down to the last person, and if you're the last person to survive, then you get to leave with your life.
That the movie was The Hunt.
What was that a movie?
It's just what you just said.
Yeah, well, people think
this wasn't the same movie I watched.
There's like 2 or 3 of them. Yeah. There's an older one, and then there's the newer version.
So that's the whole conspiracy theory is people think that's like a legitimate thing that's happening with these like rich and powerful people who can afford it.
I believe that they would. I believe that people would do that. Because you have the people that are so gung ho about hunting.
Yeah.
They're always looking for that primal.
Yeah,
right.
Not primal, but they're looking for the absolute best prey.
Yeah, I mean, ultimate competitor.
Right.
Yeah.
And the only way that you can have somebody that can out compete a hunter is basically another human, right?
Yeah, another hunter.
Right, because the intellectual level of the way that works out, you're only going to be able to find that in other people.
What's more exciting than hunting another human being?
Right.
You know?
Being hunted. Right? Because you don't never know. If you're the one hunting, nothing says that you're not being hunted.
Even the hunter, though, all it takes is like a missed opportunity or a misstep, and then the person that's being hunted can
now become the hunter.
Yeah, exactly. So, they kind of have that sort of adrenaline, and like this there's only a slim chance it could happen, but it's something you still have to worry about. I
don't know. I think the most scariest thing is a person that has nothing to lose.
Yeah,
right.
That's the biggest wild card in the world, and that's the case. If you have somebody that's being hunted, if you misstep, you just gave that person who has nothing to lose the absolute power of now you're the hunted.
Well, and think about it too. If it's like real, the added layer of these people, like almost like a competition of who can survive the longest, then you really have nothing to lose. It's like, even if you meet up with somebody else who's being like hunted and stuff, what are you going to do? You could team up with them, but they're going to have to, one of you is going to have to die at the end anyway. So
there was actually I think it was a reality show that they did that. They took people, survivalists, and they took them off, they dropped them off in the woods, and they had 24 hours head start. And these professional trackers, I mean, it was all, and nobody was dying here.
Yeah, it was just...
but that's what they did. You had to evade for so many days, and you got like, it might have only been an 8-hour head start or something like that. And they would come after and they would track you the goal to win the game was to actually get away within, I think, 5 days or whatever it was.
Oh, okay.
You had to actually get away. You could not get caught within that window.
That's cool.
There was another movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme back in like the 90s to where they would pick up homeless people, and it was like down in New Orleans, and they would just like drop them off in the bayou, and then they would hunt them. But they were all like military vets.
The guys hunting? Or
no, the guys being hunted.
Oh, okay.
So they had survival skills.
Okay.
So they weren't just your average Joes.
Okay.
So it's like based off the movie Predators.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of movies.
I mean, clearly there are people out there that have that desire and want that thrill to hunt a human being. I mean, there's a literal documented example with Robert Hansen.
Right.
That's real.
There. Yeah, that's real. I think I don't remember if he's in jail. I think he's in prison now.
Actually, I think he was put to death.
Was he put to death?
I think the movie, he was put to death.
Okay, I couldn't remember or not, but I wouldn't be surprised. That sounds like something you should get the death penalty for.
I agree. You know what happens all the time with rich people?
Yeah.
Not even rich people. Rich people don't even. I mean, there's
you didn't
regular schmoes.
Yeah.
That if they have that desire, they can do it.
I don't think Robert Hansen was rich. I think he just kidnapped people and then took them out there and then just let them go. He's like, you got like a 10-minute head start. And I think he binds their hands up and so that they can't really defend themselves and do anything. And then he's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then that's it. And then I'll find you.
That's crazy.
Stuff, which is terrifying.
Oh yeah.
And kind of the one thing I can think of when I think of like human hunting or like things where your life is on the line is I think they just released season 2 of it. I don't know if you ever seen that show Squid Games before.
I know what it is.
Where it's like, where they I don't know. Have you ever seen that, Ben?
I know. I've never watched
Games?
it. Nope.
So it's like this Japanese show that got released in here, is dubbed in English and stuff. And I was watching it, but essentially it's like they find these people who owe massive amounts of debt that they can't pay off, and they give them this opportunity to earn like $45 billion if they're like the last person standing at the end. But you sign up and then they like drug you and they take you to this place and you compete in 7 different games. But what they don't tell you is that like every game is deadly and stuff. And so I think there's 465 or 456 competitors. And so the first game is like red light, green light. And if you get caught moving while you're supposed to, while it's red light, they shoot you in the head and you die and stuff. And they have, one of my favorites was one where it was like they had like a glass floor and stuff, and so it went in the order from like 1 to 16, and what they'd have to do is number 1 would go first, and it was like 16 glass tiles all the way across in like a bridge, and one on one side and one on the other side. One was like plexiglass, so it wouldn't break, tempered glass, and the other one was like very fragile glass, where if you jumped on it, it would break.
Right.
So you had a 50-50 chance of choosing the right one. But if you chose the wrong one, you'd fall to your death, and that was it and stuff. And so you didn't want to be number 1; you wanted to be the furthest back, so you could see
which ones were already broke.
But you had 30 minutes to get across, and if you didn't make it across, you'd get killed anyways. So if you were in the back, that was also a problem. You had to make sure people were actually moving, because some people would just sit there for like 5 minutes contemplating like, oh, should I jump on
you
this
had 30 minutes for everyone to get through?
Everyone or just yourself, you know?
Okay.
You wanted to use others to find out what the correct order was.
Right.
To go through.
So not to jump back, but Robert Hansen died August 21st, 2014 at the age of 75.
Really?
Yeah.
Did he
I don't see where he died from, but
did he just die in prison?
I don't. It doesn't really. I didn't read to figure that out, but he had 17 to 35 kills.
Holy.
31 plus rapes, 3 plus victimless crimes, 1 attempted murder, and 1 attempted rape. I think the attempted rape is the one that got him. According to the movie, I think that was the one that got him.
Hansen was sentenced to 461 years in prison without the possibility of parole. And so, age 75 at Alaska Regional Hospital in Anchorage due to natural causes related to lingering health conditions. So he just died of natural causes.
Yeah, but I think he was in prison though.
He was in prison.
Is there a movie about him?
Robert Hansen?
I think there's a documentary.
A documentary.
Yeah, there's a documentary.
The one I think I watched, I think was kind of a documentary.
Yeah.
I want to say it had, I can't remember who played the cop, but it was just a regular TV show, but based on real life events.
Right.
Yeah, I think I watched someone made a documentary on YouTube covering him, and that's where I saw it. I'm like, this guy's a psycho.
Right.
Like, what?
Kidding.
Nutsoid.
Oh.
Nutsoid. Okay. Do we want to wrap it up right there?
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
Do you have anything else you want to throw in there?
No, I'm good.
You good? Okay. Well, with that, Corey and I would like to say thank you to everybody that has stayed to the end of today's discussion. We hope that you enjoyed our topic of chat and hope that you will join us next week for more conversation. Please remember to follow us, like us, drop us a line, throw us a comment, tell us your best dad joke, so on and so forth. You can do that on Facebook, YouTube. We are on Spotify. We are now on Amazon Music and Audible. So
Instagram too.
Yeah. And earlier there we gave you the email. So if you don't have Facebook, you can drop us a line and do whatever we do with email. So I would like to also take a minute to have a special thanks for Matt for accepting our invitation.
Yep. I had a good time.
Cool.
Yeah, for accepting our invitation to the studio today and hanging out with us. Matt, we really appreciate it, and we hope you get the opportunity to come back.
Oh, yeah.
And
definitely.
We'll do some more. And now, with that, we'd like to leave you with this thought of the week.
Rise up. Start fresh. See the bright opportunity in each day. Written by Unknown.
Nobody knows.
It was probably me. I wrote it.
No, you didn't. That's all right. And with that, we will see you next time. Bye.
Later.